Will you engage with a conversational interface today? And if so, would you want them to self-identify as a chatbot? I'm Tonya Hall for ZDNet, and joining me is Ofer Ronen. He is the general manager for Chatbase at Google's Area 120. Welcome, Ofer.
Thanks. Hi, Tanya. I'm happy to be here.
What is Chatbase? What do you do? What kind of work do you do there?
So Chatbase has bot analytics and optimization. So you give us a bot and we make it better. And Chatbase works regardless of how you build your bot or where you deploy it. So, you might use Dialogflow, which is Google's bot building solution, or you might use Chatfuel or some other solution. And we would still report the metrics. And then we also support bots regardless of where you end up having them live, your website, your app, or maybe Facebook or Google Home.
Now, you don't actually create the bots. You actually just help service and deploy, updates and that sort of thing. Is that correct?
So, yeah, so it turns out it can be hard to build bots because they're so open-ended. First there are websites, then there are apps, and now there are bots. And then those first two, it was very clear what the user wanted. It was a click or a tap, and you knew how to respond. But with the open-endedness of bots, where people can type anything at your bot, it's much more complex. And so the analytics and optimization needs to be able to clarify what are the topics your users are requesting and make sure that you're able to fulfill their needs properly.
Now, before we get too far along with this, Chatbase is actually a part of Google. In fact, you operate inside of Google's Area 120. What is that?
Yeah, so Area 120 is an incubator inside Google. So it's Google employees that work here and they pitch ideas, and some of them make it in. And you get to have a startup experience while still working at Google.
Yeah, that's exciting. You get the best of both worlds, Ofer. So let's take a deeper dive into chatbots themselves. Many people have heard them. Many people have experience with them. What are the elements of conversational interface, or as most people do refer to it, a chatbot?
So it's this multi-turn experience where the user should be able to type anything, and it's a conversation. And some of the best chatbots are ones that are conversations people love to have, where they're maybe getting timely information or learning or talking to experts. And some of the bot experiences are helping with conversations people hate to have, like calling your service provider about some problem, that can be painful and take a long time on the phone. And there's an opportunity with chatbots to make it a more productive conversation and faster.
Tell us about the conversational interface industry as a whole. I mean, where did it start? Where is it going? And what are some of the common use cases?
So, as humans, we like to talk. We like to communicate using speech. But historically, machines haven't been able to understand us. And it's been frustrating to use speech with machines. And so that's why apps and websites have done so well so far. But technology has really come a long way. Machine learning to help understand meaning has come a long way. It's due to the computing power increasing and data being so available, a lot of data. And so all those things have converged, and now it's more possible to have conversations with machines. So, and that's very natural. We're going to, in a few years, laugh at those days when we used to tap and click at services. And so that's a trend that's happening. And then we've done a study to see what use cases these bots cover. And the number one use case right now is customer support. A lot of companies, especially the bigger ones, are starting with support. And then the less common ones are lead gen and e-commerce. And I see that making a lot of sense. It's a big cost center for companies, the support cost center. And so if you're going to deflect some of the calls to bots, whether they're voice or text, it makes a lot of sense.
Let's take a deeper dive on that, because conversation is a big issue. In fact, I've interviewed human communication experts that say, will be a long time before chatbots can understand the complexity of voice inflection, facial expressions, and other nonverbal messages. So, what's your opinion? I mean, are chatbots really far away from being able to really understand language?
Yeah, that's a good point. There's a lot of signals. Body language, as we all know, is important in communication. The focus today is a lot around the natural language understanding and with its voice, transcribing it to text and trying to understand meaning. Um, Less so trying to understand the emotions behind the voice, but I think that's going to come over time as well. But I think you can go a long way if you just can understand the words. And especially when it's like voice, it tends to have a lot of noise around it. People become very verbose. And so, more and more there's solutions for clearing out the noise and figure out intent. This is actually where Chatbase really helps. So there's maybe 1,000 ways of asking for the same thing. And maybe your bot knows of 10. And so our product finds those other 930 ways automatically, like of saying that same thing, and we suggest that it should map to that thing you already built. You already support it. We call it a missed request. Someone asked for something, but in a different way. So an example is if someone is asking to do a return, and they might say, I'm really frustrated. I don't like this product. I want to give back this toy, and that's a return. And so often the bot's like, I don't know what you just said, is the response. But using a tool like Chatbase, we would cleanly map it to the return event, or intent is how we call it in the bot world. And we've found that there's where before there were teams maybe of 5 to 10 people going through logs, trying to do this work of both grouping these issues and then tagging the intent. Now you can automate with machine learning and have those people do more productive work. And we found also that our machine learning is more accurate than the humans doing this work. So it's a win-win, really.
How do you decide what concerns or areas to focus on from artificial intelligence or machine learning?
So we're very focused on the issues that come up in natural language conversations. There's three of issues that come up. We call it the errors, UMM, and it's requests from users that are unsupported. You haven't built these requests. Let's say in the flight bot, someone's asking for an upgraded seat, and the bot's like, sorry, we don't do that yet in the bot. So that's unsupported. And then there's misunderstood requests. The user said A, but the bot thought they said Y. The more things the bot can handle, the more misclassifications like that can come up. And then finally is missed requests, which was what I described earlier. You already support the functionality, but they said slightly differently or added a lot of like noise, a lot of extra words, and that you didn't quite classify it. So these are all classical problems that machine learning can help with.
What are some of the safeguards that consumers should expect or follow to ensure their conversation and data is actually protected?
Yeah, so privacy and security are both important issues. And at Chatbase, we're similar to Google Analytics. We're legally a processor of your data. What that means is that you own your data. You can tell us to delete it, all of it, or just per user. And we remove automatically sensitive PII, sensitive information. And you can do that too before sending it to us. So there's all these layers of protection that we have. We also don't mix data across clients. So yeah, we find that works for most clients.
Okay, Ofer, we've all had a bad experience with customer service at some point or another. So, how do companies employing chatbots ensure that their customers are going to have a great experience, and how is quality control applied?
Yeah, great question. So, well, for one, with Chatbase, we have this not handled report, which is all the stuff your bot didn't know what to do with, and in there are opportunities to make your bot smarter. So these are all the mistakes it makes, and you can knock off the ones that affect the most users first and go down the list. We also show you a visual of what paths users took through your bot. So if you take all the sessions, you can see where they went, where they dropped off, all the not handled situations along the way. And so these are all like ways of improving the bot experience. Across the product, we show you transcripts. So you can always bring up examples. Show me all those people that went through this path and fell off right before completing. And you can see those conversations like one by one and see, oh, like that's what's happening. You know, it's gives you like a real sense for what to fix.
This is a bit more philosophical, less technical, but I think very controversial. And there are different points of view on this. So the question is, should chatbots self-identify? Should you know that when you go to a website, you're actually talking to a person, a human, or a robot?
You know, this is a common question that comes up, and I was yesterday at a bot conference and had that conversation. They showed me a demo of a support bot, the voice one, and it was synthetic voice, but sounded pretty human. Actually, it sounded human to me, and it did not self-identify as a bot. And I asked them, like, you know, are you thinking about letting the user know that it's a bot? And they actually didn't know yet. They're still like in prototype mode, but they didn't know. My sense is that it should self-identify. You know, you don't want to surprise the user in any way or be inauthentic in any way. And you want to give them the option to connect to a human if the bot doesn't, you know, do what they want them to do. So that's my opinion, and yeah, I think there's other opinions out there.
What are some of the best third-party tools, whether it's somebody who doesn't have any coding experience and they want to try to figure out how to develop a bot for their business, or maybe somebody that's actually quite qualified and very experienced? What are some of your favorite tools from the beginner level to the more experienced level?
Well, let's talk about classes of tools. So there's like prototyping tools, bot prototyping tools out there, and then there's bot building tools, and then there's the bot analytics tools. And you often start with the first group and move towards the last. Analytics being used once you're out there in the wild the most. You know, you can use it before then, but it's most useful when you have live users out there working with you. All these tools, some of these tools are geared towards developers, and some are more for non-developers. The prototyping tools are usually for non-developers, designers and PMs that want to create a bot experience. And then from there, the developer might take it and use something like Dialogflow to build a very capable bot that uses natural language processing. Dialogflow is working on ways to make it so that non-developers can also be in there. And so they have more and more features like that. But there's other tools like ChatFuel that are for people that don't code. And then on the analytics side, we're working on something called codeless integration. So you just say, I want the analytics, and then you have it. There's no coding involved. And I think that will be very appreciated by non-coders, but also by developers that, it'll be easier for them to get up and running.
Businesses are, there's been surveys and out there that say that businesses are actually going to be spending more on chatbots by 2021 than they do on mobile apps today. So what should businesses do to be prepared for this kind of evolution of chatbots taking over the world?
Yes, that's the Gartner quote there. We're actually looking at our data. We see that every vertical is covered by bots pretty much across industries, with the biggest one being business services, biggest piece of the pie. So your question is, how should people prepare to enter it? Well, what we're seeing is, again, it's the customer support use case. So especially for the larger companies, and it's really a matter of finding the solutions that will let you work through all the complexity. So there's so much complexity with bots just because of how open-ended they are. And so tools that can help you work in an automated way versus like manual searches through logs, I think should be prioritized.
I think there are a lot of opportunities for this type of intelligent software and the future of robots or chatbots, if you will. And I think, healthcare specifically might be an industry where it could be incredibly beneficial outside of just how to make a return. You could literally log all kinds of customer or patient rather data, which, as a human, we might actually not remember, chatbots remember. So what are some maybe cases or industry uses that you think you'd like to see more deployment?
So we did a study of like our most engaging bots on the platform, and the top two were expert bots, one for health and one for therapy, like a psychologist in a way. And they had like multi-minute sessions, which is unheard of, and median turns of like 5 or 6, which is also very high turns of the conversation. And so I think that there's going to be a lot of like experts out there, and the opportunity is to reach more people across the world. It's very scalable once you have the bot to reach a larger audience and an international one. So I think companies can think about like, what are we experts in, and can we create engaging bot experiences? So you need copywriters, you need to write compelling copy uh, for these to be engaging. But I think like expert bots are a really good opportunity, and it's natural for the bot use case. Like bots are conversational, experts can be conversational. It's a good fit. So instead of just repurposing your app and site, consider doing that, and you might do well with your bot.
Well, Ofer, I really do appreciate your time and giving us some insight on the future of conversational technology. If somebody wants to connect with you, maybe they want to find out more about your work at Area 120, how can they do that?
I use LinkedIn. So Ofer Ronen on LinkedIn is one way. We also have like a support email that I monitor as well. Support chatbase-support at google.com. And so that's another way to reach us.
Thanks again, Ofer. I appreciate it. And you know what? If you want to follow me or connect with me, you can certainly do that. You can find more of my interviews right here on ZDNet or Tech Republic. Or maybe if you'd like to connect with me on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter, you can go to tonyahall.net and you're going to find links to all my social channels. So, but if you want to chat, go to @Tonya Hall Radio on Twitter. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching.